just dive right into the Yuta match to end things on Dynamite Download tonight. Jon Moxley and Wheeler Yuta. And, it's interesting how this played out because the full circleness, I love it, man. This kid, 25 years old, recently signed All Elite. I know he's been the protege. They kept pushing him the protege of, the best friends and Orange Cassidy and all that. And just kind of this background character. Some may have said, a jobber in a sense of certain elements, but he's putting the work in. And honestly, I'll be the first to admit, and I think you'll be right along with me. Like, I don't know where I stood with him. I was like wondering what Tony Khan saw in him that we're kind of missing. And now we see it. He's getting these spotlight matches, out of the best friends. He's getting these spotlight matches here against there and there. I mean, yes, he went against Moxley early on and got his clocks clean very quickly. He had a really good match against Danielson. And then tonight or on Rampage, he had literally blood, sweat, and tears and about 20 feet in the air through a table. This kid proved himself.
He literally was willing to give everything he had. And that was
the crowd
endearing.
For a long marathon of a night, you go to Dynamite and Rampage.
See Rampage.
It's not easy.
Right?
Dark Dynamite Rampage. It's not easy to keep that high energy as Boston
especially
did.
with how hot Boston was to start off. You know what I mean? You're right. That's a good point by you.
The crowd right away was eating up Yuta.
He gave them reason to. I mean, right away, diving out of the ring at Moxley. I mean, the kid, give him his. I mean, let's be real.
Agree.
He gave it everything he had, and I think that again, a great story being told with Wheeler is that the beatings and the fights that he's had with Moxley and Danielson led to this. A guy who broke through has now established himself as a guy who has earned the respect by some of the guys who we look at as the flag bearer, like the flag bearers of AEW, the benchmarks of pro wrestling. Again, I think that you nailed it in your intro to this one. Wheeler, and especially in such a deep roster, it's easy to kind of say like, well, where does this guy fit and why do they see so much in him? And
you're right.
Where's his upside? And in a match like this, where he went toe to toe with, and like my opinion of Moxley to this point, what Moxley's doing, this is the best version of Jon Moxley I've ever seen. And for Wheeler to go toe to toe with this version of Mox and be willing to spill the blood that he spilled and push Moxley to this level. And to be honest with you, have moments where he had Moxley on the ropes.
How many people have had Moxley on the ropes as of late? And how many people have kicked out of the paradigm shift, not once, but twice? And someone as Yuta, I mean, I'll circle back to what we talked about earlier. That was a lot of blood. And at times I had to look away. And, Danielson tweeted it out as well, they're about a time and place and, to tell a story. And I think it was a lot and it could have been a little less in my opinion, but
I love that he wrote it. I love that he on his chest with his own blood. I thought that was a pretty cool touch at the end. I
agree, but the blood told a lot of the story of his toughness and his resilience and his willingness not to quit. And then just smearing the blood on Moxley and also doing the nail drag on his back as well, putting his blood on there as well, and then shaking William Regal's hand with a handful of blood. And so there's just a lot of emotion added with that.
Yes.
And it wouldn't have been elevated to that star-making moment if it wasn't that way. And I think that this was a very, very impressive match. That I honestly did not expect to be this good. And I'm very pleasantly surprised and happy with it.
Yeah, I mean, there was a ton of buzz about this match before the show aired. And when you have a match, when people are setting the bar that high, and then to start Rampage off, I'll be honest with you, with the way Danielson and Trent, those two went after each other in the beginning of the show, I was like, okay, Wheeler and Mox better bring it, because that match I felt set the bar pretty damn high. Those two were going at each other, and you and I both are big Trent fans. We feel like he's the stud
Agree.
of the best
Agree.
friends. He's the workhorse of the best friends.
You're right.
Those two guys went at each other, and even the biggest skeptic had to walk away from this Wheeler Yuta versus John Moxley match saying, like, this kid, he showed heart on a level that where he gained a lot of fans on Friday night, dude. He
had a lot of fans already, and now he's got 2 more big fans here at Dynamite Download. And you're absolutely right, man. I mean, the heart and soul. And so I know there's still, you can hear Moxley saying the work starts now. The work starts now. Does this officially mean that he is part of the Bloodsport Combat Club, or what? What do you think?
I mean, when you write that on your chest in blood,
I think so.
I think he's the first like the new addition. I don't think they're done.
No,
I don't think like he said, like Moxley said, the work starts here. I think that they're going to continue to work through this roster and see who belongs.
Yeah.
But I think that Wheeler Yuta has earned to a spot alongside Danielson and Mox just based off of what he's been willing to go through. I mean, this kid has gotten the shit kicked out of him between those matchups. I mean, just beaten to a bloody pulp by these guys, and he's kept coming back for more. And I think that goes back to the very beginning of the Danielson and Moxley that group coming together, is that these are guys that are willing to go to war,
right,
and kind of find a sense of peace, a sense of enjoyment in pain. You know, that like, how deep am I willing to dig? And Wheeler Yuta is a guy who you could look at and you could say, this is a kid who's willing to dig deep in order to win a match, in order to win a fight, in order to win respect. This is a week where I'm so glad we were able to postpone until after both Dynamite and Rampage, because what a week for AEW SPD. Ending on such a high note with this one, but there were multiple moments throughout the week that could have been your moment of the night. Joe's debut, FTR versus the Bucks, and Wheeler Yuta versus John Moxley certainly stands amongst those at the very top.
What do you think, real quick, as we're wrapping things up for this week? But like, yeah, I agree with you, man. It's nice to let this digest, because there's so many high points that we needed to touch on in such an epic week. And we're going into another epic week with a live Rampage, the Battle of the Belts, another epic Dynamite with most of the matches announced so far. Do you, right off the top of your head, do you see anyone kind of on the horizon that you would want to see in the Bloodsport Combat Club, or anyone else? Or because it's right now, I don't see anyone direct. I could see them starting a feud, kind of a trios feud, or, just showing their presence, kind of, having matches, but I don't see anyone that really is really on deck per se, or that I could picture right now off the top of my head joining them.
I agree. I mean, at the very beginning, I thought, Daniel Garcia was a shoo-in, but man, that guy is in Jericho Appreciation Society, and he's killing it right now. That group is absolutely amazing. It's so money.
You're right.
But no, I mean, I think there are guys out there that certainly could use some direction, like, a Lee Johnson. There's talent out there that could use a little bit of that, like, sharpening or that refocus.
Sure.
But I think that they're going to allow the Wheeler edition to simmer for a little bit.
Yeah.
And we're going to start to see this story play out. And then eventually you're going to see that come into focus, get a little clearer. There's going to be somebody who they're going to have their sights set on. I love that, Sharonica. Like, let's let Wardlow. I'll be honest with you, though. I think Wardlow is going to be a guy who stands on his own.
Yeah, he's all good on his own.
But I think that there's a lot of young talent in the AEW, and I'll be honest with you, they got me to flip a switch on Wheeler. Right? I mean, I had questions on what they saw in him, and boom, I see it now. And so I think that they might somebody might be sneaky. I mean, it could be somebody like Brian Pillman Jr., right? A guy who, the happy-go-lucky in the Varsity Blondes. You don't know, with what we're seeing.
What about Lance Archer?
That'd be cool. I like that.
He's a
I'd be,
violent guy.
I would like that.
He is a violent person.
Violent dude who seems to really thrive on dishing out pain and taking it himself. I would love that, and it would add a different. That's actually a great pick by you because it would add a whole different style to the group, right? He would add that big man presence to that group that they don't have.
Right.
I like that pick a lot.
The match Moxley and him put on and could put on again, and Danielson, but
I like that. And another Dynamite download favorite right there. I like that, SPD. Throw that out to Lance Archer. We want to see him interacting with these guys because I think that could be a nice future story for him, and it could be a great fit for him.
Fight his way in the Bloodsport Combat Club because, man, that guy is tougher than anyone in the biz, and he would put on some excellent matches with all three guys currently and then earn their respect, and those four could go on an absolute tear through the wrestling world.
Love it. Love it. Veteran presence, yes. A badass who would fit that badass vibe. On that note...